Good evening. I now call to order the regular town board meeting for the town of Arundequoit, November 19th, 2019. Visitors are invited to join board members in rising to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilwoman Hush-LeRae?
Here.
Councilman Perticone?
Here.
Councilwoman Romeo?
Here.
Councilman Weiner?
Here.
Supervisor Sealy?
Here.
An attorney for the town.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And, excuse me one sec. Thank you. Just a few, we have a modest agenda tonight. I will note we have one public hearing regarding our Community Development Block Grant Program, which will start at 7:35 p.m. If you have any other matter that you wish to speak to the board about, we have our public input, which immediately follows my remarks. So if you haven't signed up yet, you're welcome to do so. Certainly if you don't sign up but wish to speak as well, you can do so during our public input. So just a few remarks. First of all, I want to welcome Comptroller Diana Marsh, who was recently appointed. That seat has been held by Annie Sealy for the past 10 years, so we're happy to have you over there. We miss Annie, but we're glad that you're there in her place, so welcome.
Thank you.
I was very, last week, our annual Veterans Day ceremony at Town Hall, I've had all sorts of weather in my years as a public servant in Arundequoit. We've had 70 degrees. We've never had near blizzard whiteout conditions, but that was what we had on Veterans Day, and yet it was probably one of the most well-attended Veterans Day ceremonies we had. And I just want to thank all the residents who came out, our American Legion, all the elected officials. It really was a nice ceremony, and for those who braved the cold, especially the trumpet players playing taps and the bagpipes, we appreciate that. So we're always grateful for our good turnout at our ceremonial holidays at our Veterans Memorial. A few events coming up. This coming Thursday, we'll host the New York State Department of Financial Services for a town hall event regarding the opioid crisis. Department of Financial Services, also known as DFS, is a state agency regulating the insurance industry. They have brought legal action against opioid manufacturers and distributors to secure as much as $2 billion for New Yorkers who have shouldered the cost of the ongoing opioid epidemic in the form of high insurance premiums. That takes place this Thursday, November 21st. DFS Superintendent Linda Lacewell, one of my former bosses when I worked in the governor's office, will be in attendance. This will be a listening event starting at 6:30, again here in the Broderick Room. And again, it will help better inform their litigation. Residents wishing to lend their voice are welcome. Please email opioids@dfs.ny.gov for more information. Late last month, I joined Governor Cuomo and other local leaders to announce $41 million in funding for Monroe County from the state's Resiliency and Economic Development Initiative, or READY, to make our lakeshore more resilient to Lake Ontario flooding. The announcement includes several projects within the town of Arundequoit amounting to $8.9 million in funding. This includes better stormwater management systems to alleviate flooding at the end of St. Paul Boulevard, improvements to the Arundequoit Bay Marine Park and Seabreeze, as well as other storm and wastewater water projects to allow us to rebuild smarter and stronger. The town is grateful to receive this money and will commence these projects as soon as possible. The state has also announced that business owners impacted by the flooding can receive up to $200,000 from the state. Those interested should visit esd.ny.gov. And I know Commissioner Kiley will be on the road to Albany bright and early tomorrow for a conference as we look to move forward efficiently on that. So kudos to Bob and his team as well. A matter from our IPD: with the proliferation of privately owned cameras, such as myself owning a Ring or a Nest, Arlo, and more, the Arundequoit Police Department is looking to partner with community homeowners and businesses who would be willing to share their camera footage should a crime occur nearby. The IPD has pioneered the Surveillance, Mapping, and Reporting Technology Program, or the SMART program, which has already helped solve numerous crimes. If you do own one of these cameras at your home or business and wish to allow IPD to access footage should a crime occur in your neighborhood, please visit www.arundequoit.org or the IPD Facebook page to fill out an online form to register. Again, this is a really innovative program by our IPD and is a really tremendous help as our investigators look to solve certain crimes. And I know some of the more high-profile crimes we've had over the past few years, these types of cameras and home surveillance systems have been of great utility for our police department. Once again, the town of Irondequoit is proud to participate in the Willow Domestic Violence Center's Purple Box campaign. You can help children living in Willow's emergency shelter have a happy holiday. This is by donating a number of toys or items that are on a list on www.willowcenternewyork.org. There's boxes in our library, the police department, town hall, both our high schools, and I believe I'm missing one, Howard Hanna, Chief, is that correct? Howard Hanna's office on Titus Avenue. So it's a really nice program for Willow. They're our partners in domestic violence awareness, and it helps a lot of kids have a very nice holiday season. Once again, the town, myself, some of our staff at Town Hall and our police department are participating in the 1330 Cancer Beards for Bucks program. This allows us to ditch our razors for the month of November, and for a good cause. 1330 Cancer provides programs and services for teens and young adults living with cancer and their families. It's a really tremendous program. We raised a lot of money last year. A lot of other police departments and organizations throughout the county are participating. So you can look at our Facebook page online or go to tinyurl.com/IrondequoitBeard19 to donate. And we thank residents again in advance for their support. A reminder that Town Hall will be closed both Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving, which is Friday, November 29th. And finally, as we do every month at our workshop meeting last week, we were happy to recognize 2 employees of the Parks Division, who working at the cemetery of our Department of Public Works, Don Mocker and John McGee, with our Staff Spotlight Award. We're very happy to do so. Not only, in addition to the good work that they do regularly, over the past summer, they worked and helped partner with a program with Heritage Christian Services, whereby some teens who are looking to gain workforce experience were able to work at the cemetery. And Don and John did a really nice job, and we were happy to recognize them at our workshop. So kudos to those 2 gentlemen. With that, that concludes my remarks. We have no pre-meeting festivities, so we can move right on to public input. We have 2 people signed up for public input. Again, if you did not sign up but wish to speak to the board about any topic, you may do so after the 2 people who signed up have done so. We ask that you try to keep your comments between 3 and 5 minutes, as we have a public hearing coming up at 7:35. And with that, I will call the first person who have signed up. It's Brian Contant, 71 Favara Circle. Evening. Good, thank you.
So let me start. I've been a resident for about 40 years here in Irondequoit. I spent 20 years in the fire department helping my community. For the last 2 years, myself, my family have endured dirt, dust, numerous days of unbearable noise, and an unsightly view from the new DPW building being built, the construction that's been going on, which is in my backyard. Since it's been completed, not much has changed. During the construction phase, we were promised we would get a row of evergreen trees that would help minimize the sight lines and some of the noise coming from the industrial site. Once the building was completed, the promise of those trees or barrier have failed. There's nothing. So I'm now left with the clearest line of sight to the monstrosity of the building. From just about every room in my house, out every window, I see this gigantic blue building and the 3 adjacent barns. The cover at night brings no relief either, since this entire building and site is illuminated from dusk until dawn. We've only had a few days of snow so far, but during those nights, all we hear are the backup alarms from the heavy machinery, the slamming of the tailgates of the dump trucks, and the flashing amber lights up top of all the town vehicles coming in and out of that site. All which could have been minimized and possibly completely blocked if the town had fulfilled its promise and kept its word and planted those evergreen trees along the property lines. Since the start of the construction, and even now the building has been complete, our quality of life at our home has diminished immensely. Not to mention the resale value of our property, because I have this giant industrial site 1,000 feet off of my backyard, my property line. I've extended numerous invitations to the town supervisor, to the commissioner of the public works, to come over to my home, to sit at my dining room table and look at what I look at 24 hours a day, all of which have been ignored. I basically live in a commercial site now. It's horrendous. My request to the, so now I'm extending an invitation to you, the board members, to come by, sit at my dining room table, spend a few minutes on my deck by my pool, and see this horrific sight. And I guarantee not one of you people would want to live in my home or anybody else in this town for that matter. There has to be a solution that will work for myself, the other residents of our neighborhood, and for the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to sign up to speak, we have Christopher Burns, 90 Canary Drive.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here once again to say a few words about the New York State DOT's plans for reconfiguring Empire Boulevard between Hellendale and Culver. I'm here once again to ask this board to step in on behalf of our neighborhood residents and stakeholders to compel the DOT to take a more inclusive approach to their planning for our corridor. So hopefully you saw the most recent news coverage of the controversy that the DOT's plans have created in Irondequoit, in our neck of the woods. In late October, Spectrum News aired a few different versions of their story in news segments that repeat every half hour or so on the news network. The full news story, the longest of the versions, lasted almost 2 minutes, which was quite a bit of coverage for a topic within an overall half-hour broadcast, local, regional, national news, and so on. The Spectrum News story did, I think, a really nice job of presenting the situation. The story included the concerns that many residents have expressed with respect to the prospect of roadway lane reductions and that impact on our corridor. The story also mentioned resident concerns about the largely closed-door approach that the New York State DOT has taken to planning the changes that they're expecting to make in our corridor. So, of course, I'd like to remind this board that hundreds of people in Irondequoit have taken the Facebook polls that I posted, most of whom were opposed to the lane reductions. I'd like to remind this board that dozens of comments followed those online polls and the multiple news stories on the topic, again, most of which were scathingly opposed to those lane reductions. And I'd like to remind this board that we have over 200 signatures on the petition that opposes those lane reductions, a 5-to-1 margin compared to those who do support the lane reductions. So on behalf of the residents in the Pardee Hill and Laurelton neighborhoods who strongly oppose the New York State DOT's current plans, I'm here once again asking you to take positive action to influence the DOT to rethink and reconsider their plans. I'm asking you to influence the DOT to take an inclusive approach, and especially a holistic approach, to working with our community hand in hand to come up with a win-win plan for everyone that achieves everyone's shared goals, and I argue they are shared goals, for corridor safety and improved amenities throughout that length of Empire Boulevard between Hellendale and Culver. The DOT, unfortunately, has made it clear that they're rather indifferent to the needs and preferences of our community, our residents, our stakeholders. This is why we're asking you to step in and influence and advocate on our behalf. Thank you, good evening, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank
I'm
you,
going to
Chris.
share the copies of the news story.
Thank you, Christopher, and same to you.
All right, thank you.
That's the extent of the people who have signed up previously, but if anyone else wishes to address the board and public input, they're free to do so at this point in time.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. And just please say your name and address.
Darlene Quattro, 10 Carl Sam Circle West. That's okay. I'm here about the rezoning of the Wambach property. I'm kind of unprepared for tonight, but recently there was an article that was brought to my attention by my boss in the Wall Street Journal about senior living and how there's a huge decline in senior living units, or need for senior living, because they're living in their own homes. Seniors are aging out in their homes, which we knew this before I even saw this article that was in the November 12th issue of the newspaper, saying that there's a lot of cities, bigger cities than ours now, that have all these senior units that were built in anticipation of us, the baby boomers, wanting to go there, and they're not. They're aging in their homes. And we went around and collected over 400 signatures, 300 of which I believe we turned in. Most of them were from seniors who were living in their own homes and who did not want a senior living housing in our area or even in Arundecoit. And I know we have one coming in the mall. And I know there's one that just recently went in at down Culver Road, Seabreeze area. And there's no wait list. There's really nothing that proves to any of us, and my street is proof of that. Every person, we have 32 homes on my street, and I think I told you, every one of them is owned by someone over the age of 60, and 2 that have sold in the last 3 years have been to people over 70 who have bought them. They were retirees that chose to live in a residential neighborhood and not live in senior living. Furthermore, opening up our street would not only end the privacy and the quietness that we've enjoyed for the last 50 years, it will also put added traffic into the whole neighborhood in general, which are all side streets, residential. Many of them are seniors that have been in their homes over 50 years. The traffic that it will incur on Culver Road and on the side streets, which are already busy during the school year, during school times, because it's a school zone, and there's side streets from Culver Road and Norton Street that people cut through to get to the middle school, which is the only middle school in East Arundecoit. So you've got traffic coming from all different directions of East Arundecoit. And the only way to get to that school is through any of those side streets where this senior housing would strongly impact. And then lastly, the value of our home, just like the man at Favara Circle said, you know, I mean, when you put something commercial in a residential, quiet area that people want to live in, it's going to change the value of your home, it's going to change the aesthetics of the neighborhood, and it's definitely not going to bring any value to any of our homes that we've all loved and lived in all these years, and it's not going to bring any new people wanting to live in those areas, other than the targeted possible minority group that they're looking at of people over 65 that might want to live in the senior living. But in the meantime, it's going to degrade the entire area. All those streets, all those homes are not going to be, no one's going to want to back up to that or live in that area where there's all that added commotion, traffic, and whatever. So I just wanted to reiterate that and hope that you will all consider, you know, our plight. And I would be happy to show you the articles that I have gotten from the Wall Street Journal that have done a lot of research on the area about the decline nationwide in senior housing, and that seniors are living in their own homes. And like I said, I think I proved that by all the petitions that we had gotten, the signatures we had gotten from people over, many of them over 70 and 80, living in their homes. My next door neighbor's 93, the man next door to her is 80, and the guy across the street from me is 73. So, I mean, it's there. It's obvious. I'm not, you know, making up the numbers. So I just hope you'll all consider it. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else wish to address the board? Evening.
How you doing?
Okay.
Bob Finocchio, 303 Carl Sam Drive, regarding the Wambach property. I don't want to take a lot of time. I think we've gone over this many times, and I think the public input is telling you what they want. I haven't seen not one person come here and on here and tell you how great of a project it is. Nobody has been here saying that. The only ones coming here are the ones that are against the project. Nobody is for this project, and I don't think it should be approved. I really don't. And I've been in real estate for a long, long time, and I don't think it fits the area. Especially zoning R5, you're open to anything. Even if it's not this, it'll be something else. It's gonna be something, and you're gonna have a lot of traffic there on Culver Road. So that's about it for now. So I hope you guys pay attention to your residents.
Okay, Bob.
And congratulations.
Thank you. Would anyone else wish to address the board? Hearing that, we will close public input, and we will now move on to Comptroller Marsh's first financial report.
Okay.
Take it away.
Thank you. Financial results as of October 31st, 2019, 83% of the year has elapsed. Overall, 71% or 25.7 million of the budget has been expended, with an additional 6% or 2 million remaining encumbered. Encumbrances are still rather large at this time of year as departments continue to commit to services, supplies, and commodities needed for the remainder of the year. A total of 28.9 million or 81.7% of the budgeted revenue and fund balance has been received as of October 31st. Approximately 59% or 7.2 million is from real estate tax. Regarding the general fund, expenses total just over 16 million or 74.9% of the budget, of which 15.1 million or 70.9% are actual expenditures, and the remaining 864,000 or 4% are encumbered. General fund revenues received to date are just over 16 million or 76.6% through October 31st. Real estate tax is the largest portion of that, just over 11 million. Payments in lieu of taxes have come in exceeding budget by about 1.4%. 5 months of sales tax have been received in the amount of 1.7 million or 38% of the budget. The first quarter of mortgage tax receipt was 249,000 or 30.5% of budget. Recreation program fees, 304,000 remain favorable, while other revenues are on par at 82%. Per capita state aid of 613,000 is scheduled for payment in December. The consolidated highway fund expenses correlate to the 83% of the year that's elapsed at 82.8% or 4.7 million, of which 69.1% are actual expenditures and the remaining 11.8% are encumbrances. The highway fund revenues received to date are 4.4 million or 79% of the budget. The library fund has experienced just over $2 million or 79% of expenditures, and the revenue receipts are at 99% or 2.5 million. The sewer fund expenditures are below budget at 75.3%, or just over 3 million. Of this amount, the actual expenditures are 2.9 million, and the remaining 86,000 are encumbered. 100% of the sewer fund revenue has been received to date. The stormwater drainage fund expenditures of 479,000 are at 36% of budget, and encumbrances are at 477,000 or 36% of budget. A factory truck is included in the encumbered amounts. Stormwater drainage revenue received to date is 72.8% or 766,000. This concludes the financial report for October.
Thank you, Comptroller Marsh. Any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Hearing none, I'll take a motion to accept the financial report.
Move.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Report is accepted. Move on to approval of minutes. Madam Clerk?
October 8th, 2019, the workshop meeting.
Motion.
Move.
And a second.
Second.
Questions, comments, or revisions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The minutes are approved.
October 15, regular town board meeting.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Perticone. Questions, comments, or revisions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved.
October 22nd, the budget workshop meeting.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Perticone. Any questions, comments, or revisions to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ms. Hushel-Ray?
Abstention.
And one abstention from Ms. Hushel-Ray. The minutes are approved.
October 23rd, 2019, the budget workshop meeting.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Perticone. Any questions, comments, or revisions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
One
Ms.
abstention.
Hushel-Ray abstains. The minutes are approved.
And October 30th, 2019, a special town board meeting.
Motion.
Move.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any, actually, Mrs. Romeo, can you withdraw that second, given, I believe you were
Oh,
absent?
sorry, I
Thank you.
wasn't there.
Can I have another second?
I'll second.
Mr. Wayner seconds. Any questions, comments, or revisions on the Minutes from the special town board meeting, October 30th, 2019. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Ms. Romeo abstains. The minutes are approved. We can now move on to items for board action under number 2. What time is it? Number 2, Madam Clerk, thank you.
Item number 2, authorizing a settlement agreement, 161 Huntington Heights.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Comptroller Yorstad, any comments on this? Actually,
No.
Comptroller? Madam
No,
Assessor,
you
excuse
did.
me. Everything's new today, so excuse me.
I don't have any comments.
This would approve a settlement agreement for 161 Huntington Hills, lowering the assessment from $470,000 to $396,000 for tax year 2018. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The resolution is adopted.
Item number 3, authorizing a settlement agreement, 2150 Hudson Avenue.
Motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. As Madam Assessor explained in our workshop, this was an incorrect assessment for 2018 and simply corrects that to its right amount. This is New Monroe Real Estate LLC, otherwise known as Aroniquoit Animal Hospital, and gets them to their accurate assessment for tax year 2018. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 4, calling for a public hearing on the matter of granting a special use permit to convert office space into a mixed-use building located at 1839 East Ridge Road.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Ivers, explanation, please.
Thank you, Supervisor. This resolution is accepting an application for a special use permit associated with the redevelopment of existing building located at the parcel of 1839 East Ridge Road. There are multiple buildings on this parcel, and this is the one that was formerly occupied by the Delphi Treatment Center. The special use permit is required for the inclusion of residential living space. The potential occupant is a local business that's looking to relocate to this facility and create housing. So it'd be essentially a live-work condition for the new occupant. This resolution will accept the application, forward it to the planning board for referral, and set the public hearing date for next month.
Thank you, and I'm just going to offer an amendment to the resolution, offer that the public hearing will take place December 17, 2019 at 7:36 p.m. Can I have a motion to accept that amendment?
Moved.
And a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the resolution is amended so that the public hearing will be posted at 7:36 p.m. next month. Any questions or comments from Ms. Ivers on the resolution before the board? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 5, authorizing a contract to update Fair Housing Action Plan analysis of impediments.
Motion
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Ivers, explanation, please.
This application allows the supervisor to enter into contract with a consultant who specializes in the fair housing assessment that's required under the CDBG federal funding that we receive annually. And so this is just going to allow us to bring the town into compliance with the analysis that's required.
Thank you, Carrie. Any questions or comments on the germane resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 6, awarding a contract for professional planning services to prepare the local waterfront revitalization program update.
Motion
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Ivers, explanation, please.
Thank you, Supervisor. This resolution allows us to select or hopefully have the board approve the selection of the RFP committee. The town received, as you'll recall, a grant from the New York State Department of State to update its local waterfront revitalization program, known for short as LWRP. We issued an RFP in conformance with New York State DOS's requirements. We received proposals that were reviewed. We interviewed 2 teams, and we are happy to advance Ingalls Planning and Design as the preferred consultant. It was a unanimous decision among the RFP selection committee.
Thank you, Carrie. And how long will the scope of work be?
So from New York State Department of State's perspective, there is no timeline. We're anticipating about a 10-month, potentially a 11-month planning horizon.
Is our goal to kind of complete this before New York State CFA program wraps up next
The
year?
plan is to have the draft LWRP that would be submitted to DOS for review in advance of the CFA, so that we get it to them for the 60-day review, which sometimes can go longer than 60 days at the state. So we're hoping to be well in advance of the CFA program.
Very good, and thanks for taking the lead on this. I know this is a long overdue.
Yes, the last LWRP was adopted in 1988.
I was 7 years old. And thank you, Ms. Romeo, for participating on the RFP interview committee.
You're welcome.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 7, authorizing the adoption of the 2020 Arundecoit Planning Board Workshop and Meeting Schedule.
Motion? Moved. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. This pretty self-explanatory. This is required by town code. It's a schedule of public hearings for the planning board, including the submission date, workshop dates, and meeting dates, posted well in advance so that applicants have predictability for the planning board. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 8, authorizing the adoption of the 2020 Arundecoit Zoning Board of Appeals Meeting Schedule.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Similar to the previous resolution, this is a schedule of all 2020 public hearings for the Zoning Board of Appeals, including submission deadline and meeting dates. Zoning Board meets generally in the beginning of the month. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 9, authorizing the adoption of the 2020 Arundecoit Conservation Board Meeting Schedule.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Pretty self-explanatory. As Madam Clerk said, this is the 2020 meeting schedule for our Conservation Board, and as always, we thank all of these volunteer boards in advance for their service in 2020. They put collectively hundreds of hours on behalf of their town, and we deeply appreciate their service. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 10, authorizing the supervisor to enter into a vendor's service agreement with the Animal Hospital of Pittsford.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Weiner. Ms. Ivers, explanation, please.
Thank you, Supervisor. The resolution would allow you to enter in a contract for animal control-related services. The town went through the RFP process, received quotes from capable or eligible service providers, and Pittsford Animal Hospital is the best fit for the town's needs for animal control, for a place to bring pets and wayward dogs and cats when needed.
Thank you, Carrie. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Madam Clerk, given 11 and 12 will probably take a little bit of time. Why don't we move on to 13?
All right.
It wouldn't be a
Item
meeting if
number-
I'm not skipping around, just to throw you off. So sorry.
Item number 13, scheduling a public hearing pertaining to amending the Arundecoit 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. I'll explain this, and our comptroller can fill in any gaps in my explanation. Pursuant to federal law, anytime we amend our community development block grant program mid-year, it requires a public hearing, or anytime we adopt our program, it requires a public hearing. In this instance, we're amending a specific program regarding senior transportation to allow us to also contract with Lifespan of Rochester. We've talked about this in the past and need to adapt our senior transportation program so that it is better meeting the demands and perhaps even expanding demand for those services. This will utilize a number of avenues to increase that reliability, including ride-sharing apps, which puts us into the 21st century. So we're excited about the opportunity to work with Lifespan, who is partnering with United Way in a pilot program. And end goal is to make sure that our seniors, which is a stated need to make our seniors more mobile, have the ability to get around town. So we're excited about this opportunity. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 14, authorizing adoption of the operating budget for the year 2020.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. This would adopt the 2020 operating budget for the town of Arundecoit. I want to thank all of our department heads for their work over the summer and helping to prepare the tentative budget. Our board for spending many hours reviewing each line item of the budget to help us come up with our preliminary budget. We had a public hearing earlier this month to allow residents to testify and react to the preliminary budget. Again, our end goal is to look to hold the line on property taxes while enhancing the services that we provide to our residents. And again, we feel this proposal does this. It enhances our code enforcement efforts with regards to zombie properties. It, again, sustains the high level of road paving we've been able to accumulate over the years, and we will get to more lane miles next year, which we're excited about. It adds a funded police officer to our police department, and so that census has gone up 3 officers since 2014 after being depleted over a number of years, so we're very happy about that. Again, our goal is to be responsive to the needs of the residents, and I thank the board for their hard work to make sure we're passing a fiscally responsible budget that stays well below the property tax cap in doing so. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. With that, it is now 7:35 on the dot, and Madam Clerk, we can go to our public hearing.
All right. Item number 11, PH 2019-1, on the matter of amending the Arundecoit 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program.
Motion to open the hearing.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing is now open. Commissioner Kiley, explanation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This public hearing would reallocate funds within the Community Development Block Grant for street resurfacing. Mid-year this year, we learned from our consultant, Lavelle Associates, that the Community Development Block Grant block areas had changed. As a result, we needed to call a public hearing to reallocate funds to ensure that the funds utilized within that program remain within eligible block grant areas. As a result, we have identified one neighborhood where we seek to resurface the roadways in addition to remove and replace sidewalks and gutters. That neighborhood is the San Rose, San Marie, Sandor Circle, Marco Lane neighborhood, in addition to Bayshore Boulevard. So this would put forth $249,000 for street resurfacing for the aforementioned roads. In addition, concrete flat work for the aforementioned roads in the amount of $200,107 for a total of $449,107.
Thanks, Bob. And just to be clear, these funds can only be invested in areas that are designated community development block grant zones by the federal government.
That is correct, sir.
Thank you. And so that just gets us on the right side of that and aligned. Any questions for the commissioner before we ask anyone who wants to comment publicly? Hearing none, there was no one signed up to comment on this public hearing. Anyone who wishes to do so at this time is welcome to. See none, I'll take a motion to close public hearing.
Moved.
In a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing is now closed. Madam Clerk, please call up item 1A, please.
Adopting an amendment to the Arundecoit 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program.
Motion.
Moved.
In a second.
Second.
Thank you. As the commissioner explained, this would just amend our block grant program for 19 and 20 to ensure that the roads we are using CDBG funds for are eligible under that federal program. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Madam Clerk, we can now go back to item for board action number 11 under community development.
All right. Pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act compliance in the matter of rezoning application for rezoning a portion of 2590 and 2662 Culver Road from R1 residential to R5 residential.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Ivers, explanation, please.
So this is the resolution that addresses the Environmental Quality Review Act compliance. And in doing so, we, in response to the Part 1 EAF environmental assessment form that's provided as part of the application for the rezone, the town prepares a Part 2 and Part 3 to explore and examine the potential impacts associated with the proposed action. In this case, the proposed action is the rezoning of a portion of land off of Culver Road from R1 to R5. In doing that analysis, the seeker, we look at the proposed impacts of the proposed development as well as any changes to land that could happen under the new zoning code. And so as we do that, we look at a couple of key areas based on the proposed redevelopment as presented and also as the potential under the new zoning district. Potential impacts to land and community character. As we look at the proposed project, we call on the fact that the rezoning is supported in the comprehensive plan. Numerous references to the expansion of housing types, expanding development density, the need and desire to add to the types of senior housing options available within the town. And so as we look at the comprehensive plan, it provides an indication that this action is in concert with the future development and priorities of the town's comprehensive plan. Considering that the land where the rezoning is anticipated is located on a major arterial, it is well served, it's an area that's prone and viable for redevelopment. We don't see that the proposed redevelopment for multifamily poses a significant adverse impact as it relates to the rezoning. When we look at impact to land itself, we look at the fact that this is going to result in an alteration of land. There's currently, it's undeveloped, and so the fact that development is coming, there will be some change and some impact. However, the project is going to be subject to engineering analysis and review. Any redevelopment on the site, including the one that's being proposed, would be subject to site plan review, engineering analysis, and would be proposing mitigations to limit any adverse, large or moderate adverse impacts associated with the development. As we look at potential impacts to traffic, under the proposed project, the total build-out would be about 80 senior housing units. According to traffic memo submitted by Bergman, the morning and evening peak hour trip generation associated with the number of units will not result in a significant increase to peak hour trips. The memo referenced the anticipated trip generation according to the Trip Generation Manual, 9th edition, which is published by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. So that really is the industry gold standard as far as evaluating. We looked further to New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, their guidance for determining when something rises to the level of being an adverse, large, or moderate impact that would require mitigation. And this traffic generation associated with this development would not rise to that level. Additionally, the project's located on a major public transit line. Several neighborhood destinations are located within walking distance. And so it means that this potential development site is accessible by multiple modes of transportation. And so there isn't less of a likelihood that there'd be a negative impact to traffic. Look at the potential impacts to utility and energy use. The site is able to accommodate development of this nature or any redevelopment that could happen under the R5 zoning. We look at the potential impacts to community resources. And while the proposed development of senior housing or future development would result in increase of residents and other development, and that kind of development would potentially increase the need for community resources or services, the resources that are in place are well equipped to respond to that increase, so it wasn't seen to be large or moderate. Further, there was testimony provided by the applicant that their other developments, in many cases ones that are larger, are generally associated with a fairly low response or requirement for local emergency responders. And so for that reason, we don't find that there'll be any large or moderate adverse impacts to community resources associated with the proposed rezoning. So after looking at all of the potential environmental impacts that that we look through under seeker. It's my recommendation to the board that you make a determination of significance as a negative declaration.
Thanks, Carrie. And just to be clear, this is the portion of those parcels, the easternmost portion, correct?
So this is the seeker to go along with the proposed rezoning of what was identified as Lot 2 in the application from R1 to R5. The remaining portions of land are not being advanced for rezoning at this time.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Ivers? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting seeker, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Mr. Perticone in the negative. Resolution is adopted.
Item number 12, approving an application on the matter of rezoning a portion of 2590 and 2662 Culver Road from R1 residential to R5 residential.
Motion. And a second.
Second.
Ms. Ivers, anything on the resolution you didn't point out in seeker?
No, I think I've addressed it all. I would just like to point out that Lot 2, on the application that was submitted, there was a subdivision that showed two lots, Lot 1 and Lot 2. At this time, Lot 2 is what this board is contemplating rezoning.
Thank you. Any board members wish to speak on the resolution? I'll just add just a note, and first of all, I want to thank all the residents who have expressed their opinions, and thank you. We always value input from residents. We're asked to consider the rezoning of a property. It's a process we take very seriously. As such, we're making a determination about the future land use of that property. It's challenging because we're balancing the established needs of an entire community versus what we often encounter as some local opposition towards changing what is allowed at that particular property. The town board, I'll note on multiple occasions over the past 2 years, or several, actually since I've been in office, has been asked to review applications for rezoning that involve senior housing and determine that such land use decisions were in the best interest of towns. And sometimes those were divisive, emotional, and we looked at the whole picture of the needs of the town. We are guided primarily by the comprehensive plan, which was passed in 2014 through a lot of community input, as well as our older adults need assessment in 2016, which did a broad canvas of the needs of the community, our older residents, in staying what they needed to age in place, and extended housing options was one of the predominant strategies and priorities that emerged. As Ms. Ivers said, if you look at our master plan that references advanced housing opportunities for seniors in Chapter 3, this project is very much tailored to that vision of the comprehensive plan. We have heard many concerns raised about the property, and I believe the project developer has been able to address many of those concerns, particularly as they relate to traffic and management. I do appreciate the fact that we looked at this the first time in a public hearing and asked the applicant to go back and revise the proposal, which resulted in a different access point off Culver, which I think was responsive to traffic concerns raised about Whitlock Road, and we appreciate that. Some have raised concerns that there are too many rental properties in Arundequoit. However, if you actually do a quick comparison with other suburbs, it actually tells a different story. 18% of housing units in Arundequoit are apartments, which actually seems high, but if you compare that with Webster at 19%, Greece at 22%, Henrietta at 24%, and 40% in Webster, I hope that tells a different story and doesn't fear that the proliferation of apartments, and not that that's any negative connotation against apartments. I hope we don't cast a stigma against people who rent versus own. We certainly have a good number of those people in our town. I really have nothing but respect for the people who live in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful neighborhood. You should be proud to reside in it. However, I just feel those who have ridden or testified that this would deteriorate quality of life in the neighborhood. I can't imagine how having 75 new neighbors, all of whom are seniors wishing to age in place, could possibly be a threat to quality of life. And if you're worried about the brick and mortar, I'll say our planning board process takes great care. You have people who are appointed by the town board that serve as independent judges to assure that a project within a zoning designation is one that balances the needs of the neighborhood as well as the needs of the project. So that if this moves forward,
that process will take place. And in other rezoning applications, we've seen that serve as a check, not necessarily a check, but another step in the process to ensure that implementation is conducive to the community. And again, I appreciate all the feedback. I appreciate the comments from my board. I appreciate the folks from Rochester Management for being here on multiple occasions. And with that, I withdraw my request to comment and invite any other board members. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Mr. Perdicone opposed. The resolution is adopted. Madam
Item-
Clerk, we can now go back, actually, we can go to 15.
Item number 15, approving the 2020 holiday schedule for all town of Arundecoit employees.
Moved.
Motion.
Moved.
Thank you, Mr. Perdicone. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. This is rather self-explanatory. This would approve the holiday schedule for all town of Arundecoit employees. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted. And now on to the good portion, the appointments. I
Item
tried
num-
to squeeze these in earlier, so I apologize, but we're relatively quick tonight, so permit me the time.
Item number 16, approving the hiring of an office clerk 3 in the assessor's office.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Vinette, then Ms. Yorstad, if she has anything to add?
Thank you. Due to a vacancy in the assessor's office, the assessor has indicated the need to hire an office clerk 3. We canvassed the eligible list, and after several interviews, Assessor Yorstad has selected Deborah Kapp to fill this position.
Thank you. Amy, anything to add, or?
Just excited to get her started working if she's appointed.
Very good. We've had some vacancies in the assessor's office, so Amy is putting together a new team there, and we're excited about seeing them in action. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ms. Kapp is not here tonight, but we wish her congratulations and look forward to seeing her on the first floor. Madam Clerk.
Item number 17, approving the provisional appointment of an assistant to the controller.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Vinette.
The appointment of Comptroller Marsh has created a vacancy in the Comptroller's office. Ms. Marsh has chosen Courtney Manuzak to serve as an assistant to the Comptroller. Courtney previously served as Deputy Town Clerk for over 12 years with the town and is highly qualified to serve in this new role. This is a competitive civil service title, so Courtney will need to take the next civil service exam and score in the top 3 for a permanent appointment.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Marsh, anything to add? Okay, Ms. Marsh is assembling her team as well, so a lot of very dynamic here, but we're excited about having Courtney back and your familiar face, and certainly bring a lot of expertise about this place, and it's good to see you back. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted, and hopefully, as you did a number of years ago, please stand up and be recognized for the adoring fans at home. Welcome back, Courtney.
Item number 18, approving the non-competitive promotion of a police sergeant to a police lieutenant.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Vinette, then Chief Tantillo.
This resolution adds 1 lieutenant in place of 1 sergeant in the police department, thereby creating a lieutenant vacancy. The Monroe County Civil Service Commission has approved the non-competitive promotion of Jessica Franco at their November 7th meeting.
Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. We are recommending the promotion before the board tonight of Sergeant Franco to the rank of Police Lieutenant. Sergeant Franco has been with the organization since 2007 as we were able to gather her from the Canandaigua Police Department. During her time, she's been assigned to a number of special assignments, which include Field Training Officer, the Greater Rochester Narcotics Enforcement Team, Stop DWI, and in 2015, she was promoted to the rank of sergeant and assigned to the Road Patrol. And in 2017, she was assigned as investigative supervisor to the Criminal Investigations Unit. So apparently good things happened to her during odd years. She works very well with other agencies within the County of Monroe, the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, Willow Domestic Violence Association, Bavona, Rochester Area Threat Assessment Committee, the FBI, and a number of other agencies. She's a highly decorated police officer, highly respected within this community, has an exceptional work ethic, and we're really pleased to move forward with this recommendation.
Thank you. And Chief has recommended a reorganizational plan. I thank you for being elaborate and detailed in that, the need for that, and certainly
soon to be Lieutenant Franco is somebody who's well-known, probably one of the hardest, I don't want to judge, but I see her often, and she is a very, very hard worker. I don't want to compare her to other officers, but she is a very, very hard worker and does a tremendous job in criminal investigations. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Lieutenant Franco, please stand, rise, be acknowledged. Congratulations. Madam Clerk.
Item number 19, approving the hiring of a police officer.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Vinette, then Chief.
Mr. Supervisor, I'll just take the lead on this. Mr. Vinette doesn't seem to mind.
Oh, wow.
We are filling a vacancy within the Arundecoyt Police Department. We are recommending the hiring of Reed B. Benitez. He currently is employed with the Syracuse Police Department, but is very closely aligned to the Monroe County community as he has family here. He's been with the Syracuse Police Department since 2016. He comes highly recommended by his supervisors, who indicate he's got exceptional communication skills, a very good report writer, and recommended very highly by them. The one negative comment we heard from one of his supervisors was that he hated to lose him. So that's an exceptional compliment for that particular candidate. He has successfully completed the interview process with our candidate's interview team. He has successfully completed the extensive background investigation by our investigative staff and has successfully completed the psychological evaluation. We highly recommend him for this appointment and joining our team here at the Arundecoyt Police Department.
Thanks, Chief. And we don't expect any tremendous cost to take him from Syracuse.
They might charge us for 2 days.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Any questions or comments? And Reed is not here today, but we look forward to seeing him in action and in a IPD uniform. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Congratulations, Officer Bibernitz. Did I say that right? Bibernitz. Okay, I'll work on it. Excuse me in advance. Hopefully he's not watching. Hopefully he doesn't have access to our iCat. Madam Clerk.
Item number 20, authorizing the supervisor to enter into an agreement with the Finger Lakes Municipal Health Insurance Trust.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Vinette, explanation, please.
Thank you. The Finger Lakes Municipal Health Insurance Trust is a consortium of towns, villages, and authorities that pool their purchasing power to drive down the cost of health insurance. As a town, the intent of the town is to join FLEMHIT. This resolution will authorize the supervisor to enter into any agreement to make that necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Vinette. I'll just note that at present, this would include the Nightstick Club, PBA, the White Collar Unit, and the Library Unit. At present, the Supervisory Unit of the DPW as well as the Blue Collar Unit are electing to stay with Excelis, correct?
That's still up in the air. We're having
Gotcha.
discussions with them.
Okay. So it's a little dynamic, but if anything, it just allows, this would authorize us to commence the process of entering into FLEMHIT, which I think is good long-term for us. It's more predictable. I realize it's changed, and I really do think our employees who have been very good in engaging with us, and our goal is to make sure we're maintaining the benefit, and really, I think we've expressed to them that it's good for both the town and good for the employee, and that we share the cost of insurance, and we want to make sure long-term that that cost curve is bending a little bit flatter as opposed to unpredictable and bending upwards. So, thank you, Jason, for your work on this. Questions or comments?
I just have one question. Jason, this consortium, I think we talked about this, will they meet on a quarterly, yearly, the supervisors, I'm certainly sure Supervisor Sealy will be sitting representing Arundecoyt.
Yes,
They have a yearly meeting?
more than annual.
Okay.
They have a wellness committee that meets regularly, and they have a board that meets regularly, and the supervisor
It sits on that. Okay.
or his appointee can
Okay,
attend.
good. Thank you.
Can we table this? I think the attorney's recommending a brief amendment. So we'll table this, and we'll come back to it at the end. We just want to make sure we are covering ourselves in the event that other units opt in. So we will come back to that at the end. Madam Clerk.
Item number 21, approving the appointment of a deputy town clerk, deputy receiver of taxes.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Vinette, explanation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Due to a vacancy, there is the need to appoint a deputy town clerk and receiver of taxes. After several interviews, we recommend the hiring of Anne Marie Purdy. As required, Anne Marie is a town resident, and because this position is classified as exempt, there is no competitive examination for the title.
Thank you. I'm very excited to offer this resolution. We do have we're very dynamic because the vacancy was created by the departure of someone who we've reappointed tonight to another position. So very dynamic time at Town Hall. But Ms. Purdy was someone who interviewed very well. She has pretty extensive experience in the financial services sector. She's a resident. She's also a firefighter with the St. Paul Boulevard Fire Department. We're excited to bring her aboard. One of her primary responsibilities will be the receiver of taxes, which we're looking forward to getting her up to speed on that, but very confident she'll be able to fulfill that role and work with our great clerk, Barb Janier, and the rest of our clerk staff. So very enthusiastically advance this resolution. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Ms. Purdy, would you please stand up, wave to the adoring public? Congratulations.
Item number 22, regarding sanitary sewer easement encroachment agreement at 127 North Ridge Lawn Drive.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Kiley, explanation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The resolution before the town board this evening would allow the residents at 127 North Ridge Lawn Drive to construct a conduit, electrical conduit across a sanitary sewer easement that bisects their backyard. Through their backyard, we have a sanitary main. That main really creates an unusable situation for their backyard. The residents have requested the opportunity to put two handholds on either side, just outside of the sanitary sewer easement, and then from there run a conduit bisecting the main. At that time, they would be able to construct, I believe, a pool in their backyard. So we are allowing a conduit to run across the sanitary sewer within that backyard, and ultimately would amend the easement as such.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 23, regarding utility easement to RG&E to be located at 2619 East Ridge Road.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Commissioner Kiley, explanation, please.
Thank you, Supervisor Seeley. Part of the construction of the new Department of Public Works has been extensive conversations with Rochester Gas and Electric regarding the placement of two utility poles on the south side of Ridge Road at the property address, of 2619 East Ridge Road. For RG&E to adequately move the two utility poles from the right-of-way, which, if you visited the new Department of Public Works, creates a sight distance issue, making the left turn from the new facility that's westbound on Ridge Road. RG&E proposes to move the utility poles 15 feet south from their current location, which would require an easement on the town property. As such, we would allow RG&E an easement for the relocation of the two said utility poles.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for the commissioner? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted.
Item number 24, authorizing the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Monroe County for temporary use of fiber optic network.
Motion.
Move.
And a second.
Second.
Bob, what are you authorizing?
This would allow the town and the county to share resources at the new Department of Public Works. It would allow the town to tap into the county fiber network, which would allow us to utilize and download information from the county, such as their GIS, any geographic information system layers that they may have at the facility. Further, we would be able to view traffic cameras across Irondequoit. As such, we would look forward to working with Monroe County in this endeavor.
Very good. Any questions or comments?
And I understand, Commissioner Kiley, this would also be helpful if ever there was an emergency and we had to have direct connection with the county. Is that correct?
That is correct. So if something ever happened at Town Hall, there are several programs and processes by which we interact with Monroe County, specifically within the building department, the town clerk's office, assessor's office. if a situation arose where the town would have to fall back, having this connection at the highway department would allow the continuity of government across Arundecoit.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The resolution is adopted.
Item number 25, authorizing the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Spectrum Enterprise.
Motion
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Kylie, an explanation, please?
In the same ilk as I was just talking about as a fall-over or fall-back location, this resolution would authorize to execute an agreement with Spectrum Enterprises for our phone systems. Our phone systems throughout the town live here in the basement of Town Hall. Pending this resolution, if something was to ever occur with our phone systems here at Town Hall, they would automatically roll over to the new Highway Department. Again, a continuity of government services.
Thank you. And first of all, very nice strategic use of the word ilk. So, well done. Any questions or comments on this matter? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. I know Bob has to wake up bright and early to go to Albany tomorrow, so I can excuse you like 5 minutes early if you want. Poor Bob. All right, we can move on to,
Hey, he's a hunter. He can get
we
up
can move on to
early.
26. Barb.
Authorizing surety form and amount of official undertaking for the faithful performance of the duties of the town clerk and receiver of taxes and assessments.
Motion
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
Thanks. This is our annual resolution we have to pass to ensure that if by some circumstance our non-wily town clerk ever becomes wily or unruly and decides to defraud the good people of Arundecoit, we are held harmless and are insured in that case. And specifically, under the certificate of property insurance, it checks the box of crime, public dishonesty, computer fraud. So, this is the one resolution, the most unnecessary resolution I put forth every year, but yet one that we are required to adopt. So, any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution is adopted.
Item number 27, approving the 2020 workshop, regular town board, and organization meeting dates.
Motion.
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. As we did with our planning department, this approves the town board meeting dates for 2020, both the workshop and town board. I thank town board members in advance for adapting the February meeting to a week earlier, as I will be on my honeymoon, and appreciate not having to Skype in from Hawaii. So thank you. And,
We'll let you go on that one.
I'll be enjoying it. I'm sure it'll be sunny here as well.
Yeah,
but
Oh, yeah.
lots of good things coming in 2020. It's must-see TV. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Can we reopen item for board action number 6, Madam Clerk?
Item
Oh, I'm sorry, not number 6. It's HR 6. It's
20.
20. Thank you.
Authorizing the supervisor to enter into an agreement with the Finger Lakes Municipal Health Insurance Trust.
Thank you. A motion to reopen the resolution?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
I'm going to explain this amendment, and our attorney will correct me if I get the intent wrong. So, our blue-collar and supervisory unit, written into their contract, if we do amend their insurance, they have to sign off on it. Other collective bargaining units, that's not the case. So, this would just add a provision to the therefore be it resolved clause, providing for that. I'm going to read it's in an entirety, and then Madam Clerk, I'll read the amendment and pass it over to you. Okay. Therefore be it resolved that the town board approves the agreement with the Finger Lakes Municipal Health Insurance Trust and authorizes the town supervisor to enter into all agreements necessary to effectuate an agreement with the Finger Lakes Municipal Health Insurance Trust on behalf of the town of Arundecoit on the condition that the town receives approval from the Nightstick Club, and then the amendment, and if the blue collar and supervisory unit decides to join the if the blue collar and supervisory unit decides to join, the written approval of the supervisory and blue collar unit as well. And that would add that this resolution takes effect immediately. I have a motion to accept that amendment?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. The amendment is accepted. Now the resolution, any questions or comments? Hearing none, with the amendment, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Town Attorney Smith, for that amendment. And this concludes our body of work for our regular town board meeting. November 19th, 2019. Thank you for all attending. Thank you for all those watching at home. Our next workshop meeting will take place Tuesday, December 10th, 2019, here in the Broderick Meeting Room at 4 p.m. The next regular town board meeting, I hope our last of the year, will take place Tuesday, December 17th, 2019, 7 p.m. here in the Broderick Meeting Room at Town Hall. I will now accept a motion to adjourn.
Move.
And a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Town Board on ICAT, Government Access. We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Town Board on ICAT, Government Access.